If it's knowledge, humour, or a different perspective that you seek, look for the wisdom in the words that we speak. Words and wisdom. We'll let you decide.
Hello guys, welcome to Words and Wisdom with your host, Rhythmical Mike.
And Zak Purdy.
Zach Andrew Purdy to you. I don't know why, but...
Alright then, mate.
Alright, mate. So today, guys, we are be talking.
I think we will be talking.
We
but
are
I
be
don't know if we are be talking.
That sounds cool, doesn't
I'll
it?
try my best.
We will be talking about
no.
motivation, staying motivated, where it comes from, maybe how you can stay motivated or how you can get motivated. You might see that I am wearing a specific type of garment today, and that's because I got a little bit cold during the last podcast. But also, the last podcast was about... What was the last podcast about, Michael?
Caring what people think or not caring what people think.
And I think it kind of fits in with the theme that we're going with, man, because it's not my usual garment, but
It's a beautiful, like, 80s rave style jacket, mate. I
Yeah.
got that in a charity shop and I've never been happier for
love
like
it,
10
man.
minutes.
I love
It was so exciting. So
we've gone from
Yeah.
psychedelics to not caring what people think to rave 80s rave. I think we've got
I
this
could
theme
talk
running.
about that all day, mate.
So I want to start with Mikey. What is your opinion on motivation?
I'm, again, somebody that's had to really ingrain it in my life. I've had to really learn the ways of motivation. I've had to listen to people on a constant and try and fill my head with how I do it, because I've also been a person that likes to have it easy, likes comfortability, likes to sit there.
As we all do.
Yeah, definitely. And it was one moment in my life, like I'd done a lot of travelling, been around the place, and I got to this one place called Emerald in Australia, and I promise you, mate, it is the armpit of the universe.
What do you mean by that? The armpit of the
It is
universe.
It was all
Smells.
backwards. It was all very backward. I'm sorry if you live from Emerald, but I doubt the population of like 150 people are ever going to watch this.
Yeah, you'd be surprised.
Yeah. So me and Jagger went over there, and there were lovely people there. There were some amazing people, but it was like hills of ice. Like there was about probably 200-300 people in the whole village, and we were out the way of like probably like a 3-hour drive to the nearest like little town.
Okay.
So far from everything, you had to get a plane ride there. But the only reason we got there was because we needed a job in Australia, and it was the first proper job we got, working in the outbacks and some crazy giving out coffees and stuff to the truckers that go past and through. It was so weird, mate. We'll get into that story because there's some funny stories there. But while I was there, I had nothing else to do. It's a mining village, and it was lots of mining going on. And it was so funny because you go to the pub,
Yeah.
and there was me, Jagger, who's a bit bigger than me, as you like 6'4", still kind of strong. But the miners would all come, and they're just tanks.
Yeah.
I remember this time where I thought the table was just going to flip up while we were sat there. All these proper lads all came around, like, "Hey, mate, where are you from?" And like, "Yeah, just the UK. I'm sorry, I didn't do anything. Take my money." But the only thing it had was a gym, like that, and it was a 24-hour gym.
Right.
So I was going to the gym, and I was on the treadmill a lot, and I couldn't get into it. I couldn't vibe with it. But I did notice because that was all I was going to work and going to the gym. My body was changing and I started to feel better.
Yeah.
And it's the first time I saw like abs on my belly ever, and I thought, "Oh, this is
Abs
quite..."
on his belly.
Oh, abs on my belly. We say words sometimes. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. And I started to see change, but I wasn't like enthralled in. I wasn't like desperate to go to the gym. So then on my iPod at the time, I just uploaded loads of motivational speakers. I just got on to like Will Smith Bandcamp. I got on to loads and loads of people. That's where I started filling my head with people that would say, "Come on, just get on the treadmill, go, do it."
So that was an external kind of motivation, something that you got from outside, and it motivated you.
And it all come from just one Will Smith video, and he was saying things I'd never heard somebody say before. He was making me feel a certain way I'd never felt before. He was like, the first video was like, if you lay a brick as perfectly as a brick can be laid, every day you do that, you'll have a perfect wall. And it was something simple, and I was like, that makes so much sense. I wonder what else he's saying. And I went down this rabbit hole for the day, and I was like, I need that when I'm at the gym. And honestly, while I was there for about a month, 2 months, every day I'd be walking to the gym with this on. I'd be getting on the treadmill, and I'd run faster, I'd run harder, I acted more, and it just filled me.
Yeah, so if I can just interrupt there, that's a great way to stay motivated, is these motivational videos on YouTube. And just sometimes people can say a certain something that resonates with us, and it's like, shit, I need to do something. So that's a great way to get and stay motivated, is to find external sources and to use those to motivate you to do something better. So that's one way we can stay motivated.
It was the perfect start, and it got me on the road to that. So then I started finding out, like, I wanted to be a motivated or motivational person. I want to achieve. I want to get things done. All my life, like, I'd be going through school, not having a bloody clue what I was about or what I wanted. I thought, I best get away then. So I went to Australia, drank loads, got quite fat. We were in the middle of, like, Brisbane, partying, Cairns, having the best time of my life.
In his 80s rave jacket.
Yeah. And I was a person that was enjoying life at that time, but with no direction, no path, no thought of being forward, thought of where next, until I got to a town where there was nothing to do. But I had to think, right, well, I've got time to reflect. Who am I? What do I want? How am I going to be motivated about this that I want? And that was a good start. It was a start. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, and that's what motivation is essentially. Motivation. This is the way I try and explain motivation to people, because people tend to come up to me a lot and they'll say, Zach, how are you so motivated? I need some of your motivation. I need to stay motivated like you. The truth is I'm not generally not a motivated kind of person. I get glimpses of motivation. Motivation, I see it as like, you've got your car, you've got the spark plug that sparks the ignition. So that's what motivation is. Motivation is something to spark a movement, to spark the engine to get working. But the spark plug doesn't drive the engine, does it?
Yeah,
there's other stuff that drives the engine. I'm not a mechanic, but so the other stuff is the stuff that you need to keep doing daily, creating willpower, which we'll talk about in a second. But motivation is just a spark to get you moving. Now, that can be external, it can be internal, it can be something that's happened in your life that motivates you to change. So I'll give you an example. One of my main motivating factors or forces came from a woman, a girl, I think we was 18, 19, and she said, "You're fat, you're ugly, and no one will ever love you."
Wow.
And that stuck with me for a long time, but that's what forced...
Straight up like that?
Straight up, finished me, dumped me on that note. Oh, by the way, I'm dumping you, and by the way, you're fat, you're ugly, and no one will ever love you. And obviously I was ugly, and I was fat, ugly as a human. And if I was to stay like that, nobody would ever love me. So she was very right, but it was what motivated, and still to this day kind of motivates me to be the opposite of what she said. And I saw her a few months back, and she's actually put on some weight, and she doesn't look
right. Okay, that's interesting.
It's quite interesting, and so sometimes we can use these negative situations in our life, like someone says you're this and you're that, and we can use motivation comes from an energy, so we can use a negative energy. I might feel a certain way about somebody, and I want to change and make a better version of myself to prove them wrong. Or it might be I've had it where I've thought I was in love with somebody, and she was up here, and she was doing all this stuff up here, and I was down here, and I was like, I need to get up there so I can be with her. So you can use either negative, you can go away from something or towards something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally does. And what you're saying there, I do always find with a lot of figures, a lot of motivational speakers and people that are motivational and doing bits, they do have a background, they do have a story of it. It comes from some hurt and some trauma, or something's happened in their life. And that does seem to be a catalyst of why people go on their adventure and go, no, I need to do better. Yeah. For people that... most people have had some hurt in their life. Some people have been through a lot. But I've met a lot of friends that would say they haven't been through enough. They've not endured enough to feel motivation.
Well, they say that, or you
they've
think that.
said that.
Yeah, okay,
like and again, like that word I said to you at the start, like affluenza, which means somebody who's lived in privilege. That's a word that's being thrown around a lot at the minute. But struggles for purpose is because they've not been through enough, they've not experienced enough.
That pain to motivate them forward.
And they've not had anything that pushed them there. So,
Yeah.
have you got any ideas or thoughts for people that might be suffering with affluenza, that sort of thing?
I think people suffering with affluenza probably don't even know they're suffering with it though.
Because it is a thing, isn't it? It is
I guess it is a thing.
real.
Now, if you come from a background of wealth and abundance, you could kind of look at your, and I'm not to say this because I didn't, but you could look at your parents and say, right, they've achieved something. They've done something and they've achieved something. What do they know that I don't, and how can I know that? And how can I... And I think sometimes, most of the time, that is probably the case, is when your parents are so successful. Maybe it's a relationship. They're successful in their marriage, so you're likely to have a successful marriage. I mean, I had a friend, he grew up with a wealthy family.
Okay.
And we always said, oh, he wasn't very clever. He was in all the bottom classes at school. Lovely, lovely lad. And we always said, yeah, he's not going to be, he's just going to sponge off his family. He's going to, well, I mean, obviously kids sponge off the family anyway. That's what we do. That's what we can't really fend for ourselves. But he's now running part of his dad's business, and he's doing this and he's doing that, and he's driving a Porsche. And
Nice.
hats off to the lad, man. He wasn't he wasn't the most educationally, what's the word, academically clever lad, but because he grew up around a business savvy dad, he picked up on those traits.
That's interesting, because there's a woman that I work with, or she's part of this company I work for, and she always says, I never judge anybody on the amount of wealth in the household, but just the amount of chaos they've been surrounded in. And a lot of people can look at a wealthy household and just have this perception, an idea of like easy life, easy ride, easy this, but the byproduct that comes along with success, the byproduct that comes along with motivated parents or people or families, is they don't get to spend a lot of time around each other. There's not always a lot of love inside that household can happen. So there's a lot of negatives that can come from that. There's a lot of positives where people have to fend for themselves. It's interesting. If we just look at like affluent areas or look at deprived areas, you can just label yourself and attach yourself with that. You can go, oh, I'm this sort of person. But to be motivated, you can either want to get out of your deprived area, or you can want to maintain your affluent side. Or do you know what I mean? It's really interesting how people label themselves and go, I don't need to be motivated because I've got this, or I need to be motivated so I can get this.
I think the need, when you're trying to, now this is the thing, you can't ask for motivation. You can't, I need motivation, or everybody has a motivation in their life. So when I have clients come to me and they say, oh, I've got no motivation, I say, have you got children? They say, yeah, I've got children. I say, do you want that children to grow up to be unhealthy, unsuccessful, or what do you want for your kid? They say, well, I want it to be successful. I want it to, I don't want it to be unhealthy. I want it to look good. I want it to feel comfortable. I say, do you think, you're her role model, do you think her growing up with you being as you are right now in this situation without change, do you think she's going to grow up to be that? No, probably not. There's your motivation. Everybody has motivation in their life. Like, what would you say that your motivation is, Mikey, to achieve whatever it is you're trying to achieve?
Again, I say now it's always changing. At the start, it was because of maybe a more fake place. Like, I wanted to be known, I wanted to have an appearance, because I didn't have that in my life, so I wanted to be seen as somebody that has achieved well. And then as it's gone on, as I've started to accumulate things, bought some buses, been on my journey, X, Y, and Z, I'm like, now I'm bringing a kid into the world. Now I'm bringing a family up. I want to implement good ideas, good ideologies, good thought process, good motivated persona behind it. So it's changed now, and it is to create that family.
And it always changes. It starts off as a spark, but it can change. So like you said, it started off from a vanity point. Yeah. And then it was, now I want to start podcasts. Yeah. The motivation came from wanting to start. But the motivation doesn't last. Then it's a case of willpower and stuff. So I want to talk about how we can stay motivated as people, because we can essentially we can trick our brains into getting motivated. Like you use the YouTube videos, so that's a trick to trick your brain into motivation. So if you need a why. You need a
Yeah,
why.
I completely agree. I love that.
Like you say, you said your motivation changes. That's because your why has changed. Your why is now, I'm going to become a dad. I'm going to
feed the family.
Feed the family. So everybody needs a why. Now, how do you find your why? It can't just be, I want to make £1 million, because that doesn't resonate with me. Like, I'd like it. Everyone likes that, but it doesn't resonate with me. Things that resonate with you, like, okay, if you are that depressed about your body, if you're scared to get undressed in front of somebody, then that's your why. That's your why. Like, you've got to move away from that. How do you move away from that? Well, you get into exercise, you get into healthy eating. You start to change the mind. When you feel like you're starting to flag, like, I can't be bothered to do it today, you look down at your body, you think about all the times you've felt pretty shit about yourself, and then you say, and that will get you fired up, because you know that if you've got a donut on a carrot in front of you, and you just go for the donut without thinking, or if
question the why.
Question the why, like, how much do I want to be happy? How much do I want my children to want? Yeah,
I love the want,
and then that will get you motivated for a split second. Again, it's like restarting the engine after you've stalled it. It's like stalling the car.
It's a great metaphor. This keep taking me down this path.
Yeah, I'll keep driving you down this path. So that's essentially how you stay motivated. And also another way to stay motivated is to always look for something new. So to set goals.
Yeah,
set goals, man. So you set the goal of, I want 2 buses and I want to do this and I want to start podcasts. You had the goal that drags you. It pulls you towards it using motivation. So, but the thing is, we can't always rely on motivation, is what I'm trying to say. We can use it when we know how, but we can't rely on it, because when we rely on it, it's like, well, I'm not motivated today. And we've both woken up on days where we feel like we don't want to do anything. I don't want to go train people, or I don't want to make podcasts, and I don't want to write today. Sometimes they're the best days to do it. Or I'd say they are the best days to do it, because you're building willpower then. Because when you're doing it on the days that you don't want to do it, then you're conditioning the brain, like as a muscle, to be able to deal with, endure.
Yeah.
Beautiful, mate, beautiful.
I think, again, like with bodybuilding, I had a guy on the other day, do you know Shippo? Luke
Yes,
Shipman,
yeah.
lad on tour. And again, he's a bodybuilder, but he's got a full goal, and they always thinking about the stage.
Yeah.
That is where they're going to end up. So that one biscuit they might put in their mouth, and after a night out or had a few drinks or whatever, even having the few drinks or anything, they're constantly thinking like, what's this going to do for that stage performance?
Yeah.
And then the ones that always come out on top are the ones that have just been complete and stuck to their goals.
Obsessed
is
the word.
And there's good obsessions and bad obsessions, aren't there? There's ways where you can channel it in something like training.
You have to be obsessed to achieve anything.
I like that, and that was something I was always scared of, because I know I'm an obsessive person and I'm an addictive person.
But we get told it's a bad thing.
Again, yeah, exactly. So I've always put that word with a bad connotation, a negative aspect behind it.
Yeah, and it can.
But my sister, she went into marathon running, and she's doing amazing with it. She did like so well, like getting charity sponsors from big charities, running all the time, and she's obsessed. She goes out all the time. She won't miss a day. I love that side of me. Like, I'll always be thinking with the podcast, I never have a day off now with the music or podcast or whatever it is. I think if I have a day off, like, I've wasted a bit of time.
Yeah.
I've not bettered myself in any way.
And that's the same as Luke Shipman. Luke with his bodybuilding on stage, and the same as what you've just said, is your end goal is 100%. Let's call it 100%. Let's call Shippo's bodybuilding on stage, and getting the first place. That's the 100%, and then obviously progressing from there. And let's say we're at 33%, okay?
Yep.
And then we can, if you miss a day, when you've scheduled a day, you're going back 5%.
Yeah.
Or you're going back 3%. And if Luke Shipman has that biscuit and those few beers, he's going back a few percent. And it might only be a few percent, but it soon accumulates. So it is possible to have a few percent knocked off, but you need to be having a majority of days where you're increasing that percentage towards the 100%. Always thinking about the 100%.
On Netflix, have you seen that new documentary about Michael Jordan?
I haven't. I keep meaning to get stuck
into it. I'm going to watch it. I know I'm going to watch it, but somebody was explaining it perfectly to me. Well, he kept building up like fake scenarios and situations and people even in his head. So before a game, he literally said that one of the opposition had laughed at him and called him bad names, let's say, but called him like X, Y, and Z.
This actually happened, or did he imagine this?
And again, he built it up in his head. So after the game, when he won, when he played the best performance he's ever played play really well. He came off and they say, did he really say that? And he went, no. He built it up in his head.
That's
He
cool.
built this
That's
thought,
really cool.
and he just went, no, I created a reality. I had an enemy, so to speak, that I had to beat, and I beat him in that moment.
Well, listen, just to touch on that, that's an incredible. That just goes to show that our thoughts can be damaging to us, or can be
Fueling,
can be beneficial towards us. Because if we're thinking, let's put ourselves in a situation where we're in a relationship, right? And we think every day, and we paint these scenarios in our head that they're going out and cheating on us rather than going to work.
Yeah.
Eventually, because the mind doesn't know any different if you're thinking. It thinks it's seeing.
Yeah.
So he's like, we're being cheated on. You create this unhealthy
reality.
This unhealthy reality. So, but that's the same thing as you can do it the other way. And that's kind of what these podcasts are all about, is both ends of everything.
Always.
The other way you could do it is and they tell you to imagine, successful people tell you to imagine yourself in a Lamborghini and keep picturing it, because eventually you're going to achieve it, because you'll go towards it.
And I've had a lot of conversations recently about The Secret, which a lot of people know. It was on Netflix for a long time. There's a book out, and X, Y, and Z. And again, like we were talking about before in the last podcast about religion and about what the Buddhists believe and X, Y, and Z, whatever it is that makes you motivated, whatever it is, if you believe in The Secret and you think that is real, then you will shift your pattern of reality to fix that. And it doesn't have to even mean The Secret is real, but if the thought of The Secret is real to you, that is what starts to change your reality. That is what starts to grow you completely.
If you really think you're a chicken, you're going to act like a chicken. I think it's Les Brown, the motivational speaker. He has a story where this man, basically his apartment sets on fire with his family in it. Okay, so his wife and kids and everything, and he runs out the house because it's on fire, and he panics, and he leaves them, and they die in the fire. And some guy comes to him and says, why didn't you I think it was the woman that died in the apartment, her brother. He calls the guy a chicken. He says, you're a chicken, you should have saved them, you're a chicken. And because he was so distraught about his family dying, that he took on this role of the chicken, and people, he created like a mental illness where he'd just go around clucking, and he couldn't talk to people. Seriously, that's what Les Brown says. Yeah, that's a story.
Wow.
So that just goes to show how when we believe something enough, we can become it. So we going back to motivation, if you can believe as well that you will achieve this, and that is something that is achievable for you as a person. Like if you're trying to lose 10 stone, it's like 10 stone, you start thinking to yourself and imagining yourself, you'll be dragged toward that.
And I think, again, like we say, with the goals, perfect, having tangible goals to hit as well along the way is so important and integral to get into that goal. Because
speak more on that. The smaller goals.
When you've got this big idea, big vision from the off, it can be quite scary. It
definitely
can put you in the blue. You're like, okay, you want to get 2 buses and put on nights and next one, and I've had that before where I'm like, oh dear, what am I thinking? Go back to comfort. And again, if you can just go, right, there's the idea, I'll write it down, literally writing it down, perfect, got the idea. Now, how do we get sort of steps towards it? Who do I need to get in touch with? Who should I contact? Write some names down of people that might know a bit more. And just constantly having ideas fulfill your head, building towards this idea that you got wrote down,
and then acting on those ideas as well. Having set each thing we do each day is a small, tiny goal. So there's something called, a lot of people speak about, it's like the power list. You got 5 things that you do in a day. You set them the night before, and then you tick them off as you do them, and that gives you a small hit of dopamine, which makes you feel good. So you go, you're more likely to go and do the next day of exercises because you felt good for doing them. They're tiny little goals. So like you said, getting in touch with people and trying to learn more is a small goal, and once you've achieved that, you feel good. But these tiny little goals add up towards your long goal, your long-term goal.
Yeah.
So if we give, I'm going to go with fitness because that's what I know. So obviously, if your goal is to lose 10 stone, right? like you say, that's daunting. That's very daunting, mate. 10 stone is a lot of weight. So what do I need to do? Oh my God, I've got to sort my diet out, my exercise, and then I've got to drink more water. Okay, well, let's start with one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Let's start with moving more. You know, how many more steps in a day can you get? Set this on, write it down, set it down, tick it off as you've done it. Okay, today I want to hit 10,000. Tick. Okay, today I want to drink 2 liters of water. Tick. Okay, today I want to implement a little bit more healthy food into the diet. I just want to eat an extra, something I've not eaten before. So maybe every week I eat one thing different that's healthy that I have not eaten before. Maybe I'm going to try spinach this week. Maybe I'll try kiwi. Start implementing tiny little things and create habits out of them, and those habits stick. Once those habits stick, we build on top of them. We do again. We do a few little bits more.
And it's so nice we're talking in this way, because at the start of the podcast, when I was saying like my first initial getting the motivation and the Will Smith thing, where it's like lay a brick as perfectly as a brick can be laid, do that every day, and soon you have a wall. It all comes back round to that sort of like small goals, small steps.
Definitely, mate. So now we spoke about motivation. What I want to touch on now. I love that, mate.
It's our saying, man.
Yeah.
100%.
Shall we just get T-shirts that say "touch on"?
Be proud of it. Yeah.
We're about to touch on.
Yeah.
So
It's a great
is
idea.
willpower. Because once you've got your motivation Will Smith power. Once you've got your motivation, your ignition, you need something to keep driving that engine, don't you? So we need willpower. And people say, "Oh, well, I've got terrible willpower." We all have terrible willpower, but we have to build it. Like building the biceps, like building the abs, like building the legs.
Yeah.
You start with 1 or 2 reps,
Yeah.
and you do more and you get stronger. Same thing with willpower. So something I always say is it's called the do it now muscle. You've got the do it now muscle and the do it later muscle.
Yeah.
You've got both muscles in your brain. Whichever you train will get stronger and become more dominant. So if we've got like them mugs earlier, we had some mugs lay about that have been, you know, from mine and previous orgies, and empty cups and things like that, and empty cups and things like that. So Mikey's like, "Let's go get a drink." I was like, "Yeah, should we take some mugs?" It was the do it now or shall we do it later? But by doing it later, you build up the muscle, so everything gets done later. The big things, the most important things. Whereas if you do the small things now, like washing the pots, let's wash the pots now.
Taking something off of you as well, like you don't have to think of it for later.
And that as well, and that.
Yeah.
But it builds up that muscle of do it now,
and
it reduces the resistance, because we all experience resistance when we're going to do. Even brushing my teeth in the morning, man. I don't know about yourself, but I get up in the morning, I'm like, I've got to brush my teeth again. Like, how many more years of brushing my teeth have I got to?
Just do it.
Just do it, and then build up that, and it'll start transferring.
It's a lovely feeling though, isn't it? As well, I've had it so many times where I'm like, I come up with an idea, and I think I need to get onto editing, and that moment that you're like, I'm a do it now man, or I do it when I say I'm going to do it. When you just pick your laptop up and do it, it fills you with something. It actually makes you feel like a good feeling.
It fills you with confidence in yourself as well.
I will get onto it. I am that person. I've had little like tiffs with Chrissy sometimes, but it's like she come up with an idea, and I will just go like, awesome, let's write it down. Let's make sure it happens, because sometimes with Christine, she won't mind me saying it because we spoke about it a lot, but she's such a creative mind. She's got such a beautiful creative mind. It can be a bit daunting for creative people because they've got so much going on that they're like, right, forget it, I'm not doing it.
So overwhelmed.
If you can go, here's a thought, here's an idea, I want to write it down, see it as something, and then make sure in that day that's, like you said earlier, ticked off the list. That's something that's
definitely,
done.
definitely.
And
if you get ideas, any ideas, it could be like, oh, I've got to ring Mikey. Okay, let's just write it down just so I don't forget, and then we do that. Or we can do it now. If we can't do it now, so it's the do it now muscle. If we can't do it now, we write it down, and then we make sure the next thing we do is that, or at least that idea has not gone to shit, because we're only human. We'll forget things and things.
I've learnt a lot from you from that. That is something. Again, we've just started meeting up properly again.
Is this a get a room moment? Is this a get a room moment?
And it was great. It really did like fill me with another person that has that about them, and it made me do it extra. It made me really go, okay, really implement.
You've got to step up to the plate.
And another good one for staying motivated for me is I used to do a journal. I don't do it so much now, and I probably will get back onto it. But even just jotting down like the feelings after a day that you've got is really good, because on days where I wasn't motivated and didn't do anything with that and sulked or played a game of Xbox and just forgot everything and didn't do my training as well, my little Joe Wicks or whatever I did.
Talk about training in a minute,
Yeah,
actually.
I felt bad. That's as simple as it is. I felt bad about the end of the day. When I pushed myself the next day, or I made stuff happen, or I was nervous about going to a school, but I did go and I defeated that anxiety. And I always, at the end of the day, always, and this is why it's important to write it down, because it reminds yourself, you feel great. You feel so good about yourself after you're like, I did get there, I did do it, I did all those things that I said I was going to do. And just work from feelings, people. Like, just think about how you feel after being motivated and not being, and you want to navigate your life through feeling and emotion and what you're left with at the end of the day. So try and navigate with that as well. Think about what you're left with after.
Some very useful information. It's a very useful way of thinking there. Definitely. I think sometimes we go too much on thought and we don't think about how we feel.
I literally at the minute all the time, and I know we can't go to gyms at the minute, but I put on a YouTube...
Sorry, Jim.
Yeah.
We'll get round as soon as we can.
You're such a lovely bloke, Jim. We can't go and lift weights and stuff. So
speaking of lifting weights, man, that's one way you can build willpower.
It's such a way, because I put YouTube on, and always I'm sitting there and I'm just thinking, it's coming up, I've got to do it. And just reflecting to what I just said, always feel amazing after. Always feel like a rush, like I feel like I can eat and reward myself with a good
100%.
meal. And it just, that knowledge of what that gives me makes me always go downstairs, make sure it's my first thing I do, just get on with it, just do it. If you do a set not very well, make sure your next is a bit better.
Yeah, you nailed it, man. You nailed it. The before and after, you've nailed, before you get that, even I get it, I'm like, procrastinate, especially on leg day. I'm like, right, I'll make a coffee, now I'm going to message somebody, now I'm going to, maybe I'll work, okay, I've got to work out now. then the after is the insane feeling of, that feels incredible. You know, it relieves anxiety, relieves depression. The middle bit of actually training is just as important, because if you think about it, you're putting yourself under strain, under pressure. Pressure creates diamonds, obviously, but when you're putting yourself under all this pain, and you're choosing to put yourself under all this pain, that last rep, I'm going to do this last rep and put myself under more pain, you can then deal with pain better when it's not put on you by yourself. Like, because if you can put it on yourself and deal with it, then let's say you give me a painful situation or a strenuous situation, you put me in an awkward position, like this, for instance, this setup.
Sit there now.
Yeah, sit there and talk on a microphone with headphones on. For me, that's nerve-wracking. But because I've put myself under all this pressure already,
that's a great way of looking at it.
And that's how I dealt with lockdown. I put myself under so much pressure and strain from the get-go that everything outside was kind of like, I was going to say white noise then, like crackling and stuff.
Yeah. That's something I will reflect on. That's quite important, because there are times where if I've been too easy, or I've wimped out on a set, or I'm like, you know what, I'm cutting this one short, I've got too much to do, I'll beat myself up.
Do one extra.
After that. Yeah.
So the little old man in your head, he's like telling you.
Go a bit further,
definitely.
go a bit deeper. I tell you what, David Goggins is bloody good to listen to.
Dave,
guys,
if you need motivation.
David Goggins, listen to us first, obviously. but I will say this, because I've not said it all day, and I love saying this: horses for courses. But he's a great one for that. You pick Joe Rogan to calm down to or think about things. But when I'm training, I'll always lean to David Goggins or something, because he's just like, bitch, go, lift it up, come on, you can do it. And it's just picking the right material at the right time, and he'll keep you motivated.
He does. He definitely keeps you motivated. He one of my friends started listening to him recently, and he says, like, he's always in your head then. You can hear him, because he's got this one saying, when you're at 60%, or when you feel like you're done, you're actually at 60%, and you've got an extra 40% to give. He run himself. What did he do? He ran himself with an ultra marathon with broken shins and taped his ankles up, man.
And you don't have to go that far down the line. You don't have to David Goggins to the point of running 100 miles if that's not you. But try and implement that thought, that what got him through that, into that thing that you love, into your passion, into your business, into your life. David Goggins, the mindset, but it doesn't a lot of people felt like, well, I'm never going to run 100 miles, so that's just a creepy person or
that's the best kind of
unrealistic
motivation
person.
to get his internal motivation. Because what David Goggins does there is he motivates himself by challenging himself. He's like, oh, you want to be a bitch? Well, let's see how you deal with this then.
He's not going, listen, motherfucker, you got to get on that road and do 100 miles, and then when you gonna die, you got to do another. It's nothing like that. But he's just saying everything that energy he has, that power he's built himself, that muscle he's trained every day in the mind, is what people who want to succeed, people that want to do well, need to train that muscle. And
yes,
I
they
love
do.
seeing it as a muscle.
And I think from there we can wrap it up with a quote.
Yeah, man. There's so many quotes within there. Do you want to smash the quote?
So I just like the push yourself, because no one's going to do it for you. Like it's cool to have these external motivations, and they do work. But let's not try to rely on them. Let's motivate ourselves from inside, and fire up that and push yourself and fire up that energy.
Yeah.
And let's just go.
And what was that one other thing you said? Because I want to take that just for me. Pressure creates diamonds.
Oh, pressure creates diamonds.
Sorry,
man.
I'll go and write that down because that's really nice.
Yeah, man. So again, thank you for listening. Like, share if you feel this has done anything for you. Feel free to comment and give us feedback. We're always looking for constructive criticism.
Well, get your words out. That's what I'll say. Like,
I'll try.
That's my construction for you.
A, B, C, D. Lovely. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Peace out.